So Xero is a small business accounting platform that makes the lives of small business owners as simple and easy as possible. We want to take all the stress of financial accounting out of their hands so they can focus on running their business and what's important to doing so. We have nearly 4 million users across the world, and we're growing heavily in Canada and the US. But because we work in other markets where open banking is prevalent, we've been really critical to the development of open banking systems and consumer driven finance systems in other markets. We've really seen how much of a benefit it can have for small business owners and those involved in growing small businesses across the world. Right now in North America, the narrative is very, very consumer focused. So when people talk about open banking, they talk about consumer benefits, what this means for the average Canadian or the average American. But what Xero is trying to do in our advocacy and our work, promoting open banking and helping it grow here in North America, is really focus on the small business owner and the benefits that it can have there. So when we talk about Xero specifically, Xero works best when we're providing accountants and bookkeepers who work with small businesses with the most up-to-date, the most accurate data possible. And we really do rely on that timely and accurate financial data. So small business owners can have a really good understanding of what's going on, and those helping them make the best decisions for their business can also really understand what's going on with their business. So in simplest terms, when we think about it, think about accounts receivable and accounts payable. Just having a clear financial picture and access to all the financial tools that then get unlocked with open banking is really, really critical. So I think it's important to think about this question in terms of the Xero platform, but also in a broader sense. So in terms of Xero, we have over 1,000 connected apps in our app ecosystem globally. So in terms of improving access to options and product options for consumers, this will allow our small business customers to fully leverage a very wide range of tools that will allow them to customize their accounting and bookkeeping setup for their sector, for their size, and for their location. But when you think about it even broader than Xero, the sheer volume of fintech apps that can be unlocked through a consumer-driven finance system that's effective, I think is really mind-boggling. And people think this is a security issue. It's not a security issue. These apps are accredited, they're safe to use, the consumer's data is protected every step of the way. But when we look at the ecosystem right now, we look at it through our Xero Small Business Insights program that anonymizes and aggregates consumer data from our platform directly and provides it in a real-time fashion. And this is all available online. But what it's showing right now in North America in both markets is a liquidity crunch. So small business owners right now specifically are still being hurt by lack of liquidity, lack of access to finance, lack of access to capital options. So when you think about the product options that get unlocked, you have alternative sources of finance. You have fintech tools that are able to help small business owners streamline their financial setup to help them make the right decisions. So when we look at what a liquidity crunch means, open banking can really, really help solve that issue for small business owners and help ensure that they're making the right decisions with the financing they have while also unlocking future sources of financing, future sources of capital, and help them more effectively run their business. So here at Xero, we've been really encouraged by all the progress that's been made politically over the last couple of years on open banking, consumer-driven finance in both markets. I think lots of encouraging signs in the recent federal budget in Canada that was just released. So lots of positive momentum happening north of the border. In the United States, we've really been encouraged by the you know cross-partisan and cross-industry support for open banking, both at the small business, larger financial institution level, but then also the consumer support level. In Canada specifically, Finance Canada has been an excellent partner of ours and backed by great cross-party support. And we're really encouraged to see what the next steps are going to look like in terms of developing that platform. Finance Canada has been engaged. They really understand the issues and they've done a great job at consulting the entire ecosystem. But there have been a number of great champions on both sides of the border that Xero has been really blessed to work with that have really understood what this means for small business owners and have helped push the small business narrative to help politicians and the public really understand what's happening on Main Street and how something like consumer-driven finance can really support, our small businesses bounce back. It's critical that policymakers act now on this because it's something that has been, well studied globally. Like I mentioned, Zero has been, centrally involved in the development of open banking systems in many jurisdictions across the world. So there are lots of use cases out there that policymakers can lean on to understand what works, what doesn't work. And I think it's important to understand that it's never going to be perfect the first time. We've seen many examples internationally of jurisdictions evolving what the model looks like, involving how financial institutions are held accountable, how fintechs are held accountable in the system, how a governing body is structured, and the enforcement mechanisms that it deploys in market. So I think it's something that is well studied, and in Canada specifically, and the United States, very, very well consulted on in the ecosystem. So I think we have all the information that we need. And as I mentioned earlier, small business owners specifically are facing a liquidity crunch right now. Government budgets are stretched. There are fiscal situations to deal with in both Canada and the United States. Something like consumer-driven finance, open banking, is really a great way to kickstart the small business economy without heavy fiscal obligations politically that politicians will have to deal with, and citizens as a whole are going to have to deal with down the road. This is something that's well consulted on. There's information. It's time to act now, because I think people are ready for it, and it's important for us to get these solutions in market as quick as possible to help people. So, focusing on the small business side of the conversation, think about the businesses that you frequent every single day. I'm in Port Perry, Ontario. I'm a proud small town Ontario guy, and the business that comes to mind for me is the local bait and tackle shop. Now, given the liquidity crunch that's happening with Canadian small businesses, and to a lesser extent American small business owners are faced every day with very difficult financial decisions that they have to make without their complete financial picture, in terms of accounts receivable, accounts payable. They lack, long-term forecasting analytics because their financial apps do not have access to their financial data in an accurate, timely, and efficient way. So when that bait and tackle shop in Port Perry, Ontario needs to make a decision, do I fix the sign? Do I hire another clerk to support my growth? Do I invest more in digital marketing channels? These are not just run of the mill everyday decisions. In a liquidity crunch period, this becomes life and death for the small business owner. So something like open banking, consumer driven finance can help them make those decisions with the right information to help their businesses survive.